A very good evening, Fiji. I'm VJ Narayan, and we are on a journey as far as 1 year on from the events of December 5th. Of course, it's been 1 year. We've had a special earlier today, and this is the second part of that program. This is live and direct with the Interim Prime Minister, Commodore Frank Bainimarama, in studio here on Legend FM, and also with VT FM. And a very good afternoon to everyone listening out there, traveling in the vehicles, in the buses, in the cars, in the taxis, out in the villages. Mbula Vinaka to you. A big namaste to all those settlements, people in the settlements, and everyone listening. Also on fijivillage.com around the world through our website, live streaming. If you're listening to us, a very big Mbula Vinaka to all of you. And a big Mbula Vinaka to you, Commodore Bainimarama. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation today.
No, Jack.
Now, Commodore Bainimarama, the theme of our talk back today is where to from here. And for those who are listening, if you want to send in your questions, you can call in on the number 3316-600 or the number 3316-601. The numbers again, 3316-600 and 3316-601. We've got our support team ready there. They'll take in your questions and forward it to me in studio. And also you can text your questions through on the number 600. You're on Legend FM and VT FM. Commodore Bainimarama, it's been 1 year since the events of December 5th. What have you, the RFMF and the interim government achieved so far through your perspective?
Thank you, Vijay. If I can say good afternoon to the listeners this afternoon on FM stations. And in response to your questions, Vijay, we have made progress on a number of fronts, and these two under rather challenging and constraining conditions. We have done well, for example, to arrest the decline in the state of the nation's finances. We stopped the increase in VAT, which was sanctioned by the previous government, and we have made steady progress in restoring law and order in the country. Our other major achievements, Vijay, is the creation of FICAC. As we all know, it's the Commission Against Corruption. We have also introduced new laws and international commitments in respect of corruption. We have and are continuing the process of dismantling discriminatory and race-based policies. We have given back lands, traditional lands, to indigenous landowners that have for quite a time been trying to get their land back. We have are in the process too of identifying areas of neglect in the Native Land Trust Board and Indigenous Fijian administration to ensure that better policies and procedures are put in place so that ordinary indigenous Fijians obtain better and improved services from these institutions. As you know, Vijay, in the early part of last year, after the events of December 6th, out of 100 concerns and complaints that we received, 99 of them would be on land and NLTB. So there's definitely a need to restructure NLTB to cater for the landowners and cater for and provide good services. We also have are in the process of bringing about new standards and culture of accountability in the public service. One thing we have discovered, Vijay, again in the early part of last year, was that there was a lack of provision of service from those of us who have been paid from the public purse to provide that service. And we are in the process of bringing about new standards of culture of accountability in the public service.
Commodore Bainimarama, of course, we've got the issue of NLTB. You've spoken about NLTB, and there's a lot that has been said about NLTB, about indigenous Fijian land? Of course, there's some out there who's saying that it may be under threat. What's your comments to those who are listening out there about those comments that are being made about native land?
Vijay, there's a misconception about the ownership of land in Fiji, and that is been made clear in the politicization of land and the indigenous population over the last few years. But as we know, the native land and the land that belongs to the indigenous Fijians are well safeguarded in the Constitution. No one can touch those. But what we are after is the provision of service by the Native Lands Trust Board to the indigenous landowner. Initially, their role was to administer the land on behalf of the landowners, but things have changed rather dramatically over the last few years with regards to the role of the Native Land Trust Board, and we thought we'd bring it back into line, have it restructured so it could provide the best of service which we think has not been provided by the NLTB to the landowner. And I think at the end of the day, the landowner will win.
So if we have these changes, there will be direct benefits to the average indigenous Fijians, and in what form?
Let me tell you, Vijay, that we will have these changes, not if. We are going to have these changes.
By when?
By the end of our term. We are going to work on these changes, especially in the next 12 months.
To ensure that the average indigenous Fijians benefit?
They should have benefit from
why do you think they haven't benefited so far?
They haven't benefited because, as I've said, out of the 100 complaints we received, 99 of them would be on an NLTB, and the lack of provision of assistance from the Native Land Trust Board. And that is why we think there's a lot to do in NLTB and the restructure of NLTB to provide the services that should go to the landowners. And it's not if we're going to do it, we are going to do it.
Now, we've got questions coming through. There's one question here from Mere Samisoni. And the question is, how can you sleep at night after what you did in December last year, as you always maintain that we should teach our children to follow the rule of law, while you have not done that yourself?
I think that's the views of Mary Samsoni. I'm not going to argue about that, but I have wonderful nights. I don't have sleepless nights at all.
The other question from Muaniweni, Billy Sami from Muaniweni, complimenting your government for a nice job, and asks why you have not abrogated the Constitution yet.
Well, we thought we stay with the Constitution. The Constitution provides us better guidance than one without a Constitution. Abrogating the Constitution would not do us any good. Especially when we want to stay online, as we say. But abrogating the Constitution is the last thing we want to do.
Why a different approach this time from 2000 in relation to abrogation of Constitution?
Things have changed, Vijay. This is not 2000. This is 2006. At any rate, you will find that the military was forced to abrogate the Constitution then.
Forced by who?
I'm sorry, I'm not going to tell you.
Everyone listening on Legend FM and VTFM, we've got Interim Prime Minister Commodore Frank Bainimarama in studio with us, live and direct to all of you listening. Good evening to you. And Commodore Bainimarama, of course, a lot of questions have been asked why the action was taken on December 5th. Could it have been avoided if the Qarase-led government would have dropped the legislations, removed the people who were involved in the May 2000 coup to ensure that they do not come back in the SDL-led government? Could it have been avoided if that was done?
Thank you, Vijay. By December 6th or December 5th, the situation could not be avoided. We knew that Qarase was committed to staying the course that he had been staying on for the previous 6 years. So there was no way that situation was going to avoid it. We've given him all the break. We've given him all the chances to change his ways, to mend his ways. But unfortunately for us all, that didn't happen. As you know, we've started telling Qarase from 2001 that he had stayed from the coast. A lot of people don't seem to understand what transpired in 2000.
Maybe a lot of people don't know.
A lot of people don't know. Well, as you know, Qarase was brought into power by the military. Initially in the military government.
Appointed by you?
Appointed by me. And then in the interim government, appointed by His Excellency the President. But that was on our recommendation. And we said we would support His Excellency. 2 weeks down the line, when they were supposed to have been sworn in, there was pressure from George Page Group, who were still in Parliament then. And I was asked to come up in front of Qarase and a few of his people, and I was asked to remove His Excellency the President. Because
who asked you to remove the President?
That was Qarase and a few people around the table. This is a story that I had mentioned some time ago.
In the Fijian Holding
boardroom.
And
then I was asked to remove His Excellency the President. If you remember, last Sunday he was talking about I was supposed to have been fronted up to His Excellency for the Commission of Inquiry, and it didn't happen. But why he didn't tell people why it didn't happen. It didn't happen because I told His Excellency that between the two of us, Qarase was supposed to have been the one that was supposed to be fronted up to the Commission of Inquiry for asking me to have him removed in 2000. But that was the pressure from George Page Group. Anyway, a week later, there was considerable pressure on His Excellency, and His Excellency had called us to tell us that he would prefer Andi Samonono to be the Prime Minister. Everyone had agreed to it, everyone that was in that room there and then. But I said no, that the military will not endorse it, the military will not approve it. And at the end of the day, His Excellency the President relented and went back to having Qarase
He supported you?
He supported me and went back to having Qarase as Prime Minister. On the understanding that Qarase would do the good thing by us, the right thing by us. But that changed very dramatically when he took on board people from the KMV in his government. And his stance changed from where we thought he would take us to where he took us over the last 6 years. So from 2001, we had warned him, look, this is what's happening, you should not have gone there. But again, if you listen to his statements last Sunday, I was listening to his statement last Sunday as if there was nothing wrong. His government came into power because of the election, having forgotten the events of 87, having forgotten the events of 2000. And that we were not going to stand by and let people manipulate, especially the indigenous Fijians in Fiji. And so, we've told him from 2001. In fact, after the events of December the 6th, people turned around and said, you should have done it in 2001. And I said, maybe we should have done it in 2001. It would have saved us.
Why didn't you do it?
Well, we thought we'd let him change and mend his ways, but he didn't. He continued, and we went along with him until 2006, of course, when he came up with the 3 controversial bills. When we asked him to remove those, he didn't want to. But that was just part of the reason. One of the reasons that we wanted, that we didn't want him to go on the path. Because the other reason was we found rampant corruption creeping into the leadership of our country, and so we told him, look, get rid of this these racist bills because it's not going to do us any good. But he didn't agree with us, so he continued down this path. Also, because the reason why he didn't want to go away was the fact that he had been receiving security advice, which said otherwise, which said that there was no loyalty to me in the military, and that they could remove me and no one would do anything about it. And that was the problem they came across in November when I was away in the Middle East. So he was receiving bad advice throughout, security advice. If he had received security advice from the military, he wouldn't have done what he did. If he had followed what we told him to do from 2001, we wouldn't be in a position where we are now. And a lot of people on his side are complaining about what we did on the 5th of December. If they had followed what we wanted done, what the military wanted done, we wouldn't be in this position. People say, but you should have, your role in the Constitution is this, you shouldn't have gone against the government. Your role in the Constitution is this, you shouldn't have gone against the government. I say, forget that. Look back to 2000. What brought 2000 about? And we should not forget that.
Listen here, Qarase, we spoke to him this morning, and he's saying that the reconciliation bill, the Ngoli bill and Indigenous Land Claims Tribunal bills were not racist, and they were to help the people. Well, what's your comments in relation to that?
Those are his views, Vijay. I say they are racist, and they are not going to bring about anything, no good, not anything good to this country. I'll tell you a couple of stories. The first one was when I was invited by a group of businessmen into a home around about 2003 when the reconciliation bill came about.
That's right.
And they asked me then to remove the government. The reason being that they said if the reconciliation bill came into being, there would be no businessmen, there would be no Indians, there would be no economy. So they asked me, do the right thing by the people of this nation.
The business people asked
people asked me, or a few of them that were there anyway.
Jokingly or seriously?
No, it was, I don't know if it was a joke, but I don't take removing a government as a joke. And I said no, because I said, well, we're going to give him a chance, and maybe we will see it our way. But if this group of businessmen can come to me and tell me that there's, at the end of the day, because of the reconciliation bill, there's going to be no economy, no Indians, that's totally different from what Qarase is saying. I'll tell you another story which I told a few people some time ago, but
now you're going to share it with the people of Fiji.
Now I'm going to share it with the people of Fiji. I was in November, as you know, I was in New Zealand last November with Winston Peters.
Who's a good friend also.
He's a good friend of mine, yes. Well, it was a good friend then. But what the military was worried about in the Ngoli bill was violence that would erupt if the boundaries were not demarcated properly. Now, when I was in New Zealand, I told Winston Peters, look, Winston, your Prime Minister is against my Prime Minister for endorsing against me for going against the Ngoli bill. And yet your government, Helen Clark, came up with a legislation in 2001, 2002 to remove the equivalent of the Ngoli bill in New Zealand. So why is this happening? He said it was not Helen Clark that came up with the legislation, it was me, Winston Peters. I said, why did you do that? You're a Maori like me. He said, well, I see the Maoris killing Maoris 3 years down the line. And I said, well, this is exactly what the military is trying to tell people in Fiji. And he says, yes, I know. So there's this guy who knows, but who doesn't want to understand what's happening. So if Qarase tells us that it's not racist, those are his views. My views are, they are very racist bills, especially the reconciliation bill, and they would do us damage. You would take this country downhill and would never recover.
Commodore Bani Marama, thank you very much. We've got The lines are open. You can give in your questions 3316-600 and 3316-601, or text in to the number 600. We've got Interim Prime Minister Commodore Frank Bainimarama in studio. Good evening. I am Vijay Narayan. We'll take a short break and we'll join you right back.
People everywhere in the islands of Fiji come together under God as one in unity. Yes, we'll begin to build a peace that makes us united in the land.
I wish you a smile and help a friend in need. Reach out, come on, come take my hand. We'll fly out proud of freedom, hope and unity.
We'll hold our heads up high,
We'll
Legend FM. Paul Takala with you on Drive on this 5th December special feature with our news editor Vijay Narayan and a very special guest, Commodore Frank Bainimarama, the Interim Prime Minister.
Good evening, Fiji, and Bula Vinaka to everyone listening on VTFM, and Namaste to everyone listening on Radio Sargam, and hello to everyone listening on Legend FM. We've got this live interview with Commodore Bainimarama, Interim Prime Minister, in relation to where to from here, 1 year on since the events of December 5th. Commodore Bainimarama, of course, a lot has been said about that you were just hungry for power. Now, that has been said by Australian Foreign Minister before, Alexander Downer, New Zealand Foreign Minister Winston Peters, Prime Minister, former ousted Prime Minister Qarase has also said you only carried out whatever you did on December 5th last year is because you were hungry for power. Are you hungry for power? Were you hungry for power?
Thank you, Vijay. You must remember that Alexander Downer is no more. Eh?
Yeah, former.
Is no more. Qarase is no more. Okay. This time next year, the New Zealand election would tell us whether Ellen Clark would still be around or she'll also be no more. I really don't know. But those are their views. I will not be distracted by such comments. The President's mandate requires us to return the country to democratic rule, and I have a job to get the country back on its feet, and I will do it without their comments.
Commodore Bainimarama, what is your vision for Fiji?
Thank you, Vijay. You know, I have mentioned this in the past, and I will in some of my statements. But my vision is that of a democratic Fiji, with racial tolerance and equality, respect for ethnic and religious differences. It's nothing new. It's what everyone would love to have in this country. That's my vision. My vision and yours wouldn't be different if you were a right-thinking person. So I'll leave it at that. But my vision of Fiji is one where there is total respect for the law, and it's corrupt-free, of course. And that's exactly what you want, and that's exactly what the listeners would want.
Now, Qarase says you cannot eradicate corruption. You're saying that you will get rid of corruption. He's saying that only God can eradicate corruption. What do you have to say to that?
Vijay, again, I said Qarase is no more. The reason why he is no more, because he brought about corruption to this country in such a way that has never been seen before. I got rid of corruption by getting rid of Qarase. I will never totally get rid of corruption. I will try my best. But to say that you can't get rid of corruption is wrong. I've done it.
Now, just general terms, we know the legalities will definitely come in about corruption, and we wouldn't want to go into allegations at all. Just allow for investigations to continue and the due process to be followed. But how are you happy with the course of investigations? And
yes, Vijay, I'm very happy with the way FICAC is doing the investigations on corruption. There are a few charges. Charges have been laid. People have been taken to court. The problem is the legality of FICAC have been challenged by lawyers, of course. But people have been charged. They've been taken to court. And there are other charges that are to be laid in the next couple of months. So they're doing okay.
So we'll see more charges laid against people?
Definitely.
Will it stop you about these legalities emerging, people challenging all these institutions like FICAC?
No, it should not. We should find a way out of that.
Now, Commodore Bainimarama, moving on to the People's Charter. Now, we start off with the National Council for Building a Better Fiji. You are co-chair with Archbishop Petero Matava, and the National Council for Building a Better Fiji has been given a time frame to come up with the People's Charter. The work of the National Council for Building a Better Fiji, could you explain to the listeners what this is about? Because this is something new for the people of Fiji. It is a new body. And what will it bring to the people of Fiji? What benefit?
Thank you, Vijay. As you know, the role of the NCBBF, the National Council of Building a Better Fiji, is to act as the secretariat in dealing with the people's submission. They deal with people's submission when they start to come in. The job will be, to sort out and process the submissions that come in. In simple terms, the role is to prepare a charter based on submissions from the people. The first council meeting was supposed to have happen on the 14th of December.
Next Friday.
Next Friday. You will now know, and the public will find out from this interview that it has been deferred to the 17th of January. I've forgotten the date. I may have to go back and get it. But in general terms, it is to prepare the State of the Nation and Economy Report, the Council, to formulate the draft, the Fiji People's Charter for Change and Progress, and ensure that all communities are fully consulted upon formal adoption of the People's Charter. But the proposed concept of the People's Charter for Change and Progress as a way forward is a major national initiative requiring engagement and participation of all institutions and organizations, communities and individuals. And that was something that is very important to the being of the National Council for Building a Better Fiji.
The National Council, now the People's Charter, there have been rejections already, and of course the People's Charter has not been formulated yet. So could you explain, because there have been a number of rejections, as you know, that and there have been people who have said that they will come on board the National Council for Building a Better Fiji and support the cause, but the People's Charter, is a People's Charter in existence at this stage?
The People's Charter is not in being right now, Vijay. I have said from the beginning that for those that are opposing the People's Charter, the Charter is about, if you read the Charter, the end result, what we intend to have at the end of the day was good governance and good leadership, corrupt-free, all that. And the people who oppose that would oppose the setting up of the Charter. The people who want to keep fooling us, as they've been fooling us in the last 6 years, would not want the existence of such a Charter. And that is, and people say that we don't want the Charter. The Charter is not in being. They have yet to put up the proposals which would be included when the National Council sits.
The National Council sits, I believe it's a 41-member council?
It's a 45-member council.
45-member council, and it will take submissions from the people of Fiji. They can put in their submissions.
They can submissions from the people of Fiji, and there are working groups that work those submissions and bring, and of course look at the major issues that we have, especially that of land, of economy, and hopefully at the end of the day we come up with a charter that will take us to a prosperous Fiji.
Now the other issue, Commodore Bainimarama, is you have said it from the start, from the UN General Assembly in New York, when you went to New York, and also the Pacific Island Leaders Forum in Tonga, that our electoral system needs to be relooked at, and race-based voting plays a big part in the way we heading in Fiji. How can that be changed? Can you change that? Can your interim government change that?
Hopefully, Vijay, it's going to be brought about by the Charter. And again, as I said, there will be no election without a Charter in place. We are not going to go straight from here to election without fixing the problems that we've had before in the last few years. And the election is one of them. So we're going to have that change, yes.
So we will have the next elections under new electoral system.
Hopefully it will be under next new electoral reform.
Okay. And that will be looked at by the National Council for Building a Better Fiji after people take submissions. Now, Commodore Bainimarama, the issue as far as Qarase is concerned, he's saying that he sent you a proposal, a letter, and he's maintaining that you should talk to him. Do you think it's too late for him to come forward and talk to you?
Vijay, I don't know why you keep bringing Qarase in. Qarase is gone. Don't forget that he was the leader of an entity that brought us to where we are today. If he had anything to contribute to Fiji, he would have done it in the last 6 years. He hasn't. So if he wants to talk to me, come to the table with the charter. That's the only way I will accept him.
So you will only speak to him when the National Council of Building...
The National Council, the Building a Better Fiji sits, and he wants to be part of a Fiji going forward, he sits there. He doesn't dictate to me or the interim government or the military council what he wants done. He's finished.
Now, Commodore Bainimarama, also if you look at the President's mandate, and you're saying that is the roadmap that is being followed, and one of the things highlighted is reducing poverty levels, and the budget has just come out. What about as far as the common person, the ordinary person listening on air right now on Sargam, VTFM and Legend FM? What would be done for those people to ensure that their living standards improve, that their livelihood improves?
Vijay, the budget itself is what people have termed as a poor man's budget. It's good for the poor people. As you know, we talked about the Chinese government giving us some $240 million. Some of them would be used for housing. But what we need is employment. And we hope when we have now moved on with the new budget, we will hopefully put ourselves in such a position that employment is brought about. We've kept the incentives with the industries. So hopefully with those we will generate employment. And that's what we need to do right now.
We've got Commodore Bainimarama, Interim Prime Minister, with us in studio, and you can call on 3316-600 and 3316-601 to give in your questions. Also text in to the number 600. You can also email us on fijivillage.com.fj. And good evening to everyone listening again on Sargam, on VTFM, on Legend FM, and people listening all around the world, in Iraq, in Australia, in the UK, on our website fijivillage.com. Now, Commodore Bainimarama, it's December 5th. It's definitely a significant day now. And we go back to December 5th, and the days leading up to that, a lot of people just focus on that day. But you just highlighted in the stories you were telling us about October 31st, when Qarase went up to President Ratu Josefa Iloilo and asked for your removal. Definitely you were in Iraq, and that was a test for your support in the military.
Yes, Vijay, as I've said in one of my earlier statements, one of the problems that he had was that he was getting wrong security advice. Now, if he had the commander of the military in the security team, he would have been told that, no, you're going down the wrong path.
You were not being invited to the Security Council meetings?
I've never been invited since 2001. The government then said that I wasn't part of the security commission, but they will only invite me when they want me there. So to them, there was no need for me to be there since 2001. But 2001 was when I started telling Qarase that he was going down the wrong path. So he didn't want any skilled advice from the RFMF. If he had listened to the RFMF coming up to October, November last year, I think we would have may have averted the situation last year on the December the 5th. But he didn't. He listened to some policemen who told him that loyalty in the camp was in disarray. There was no one that was loyal to me, when in fact the opposite was there. You know, Qarase keeps talking about 80% of the military voted SDL. 100% of the military came my way when I wanted them to.
Now, during that time also, the then police commissioner Andrew Hughes, you were good mates with him before that, but then it seems like your relationship got strained. Why was that?
It got strained because he was listening to Qarase and the international community, when I was telling Qarase exactly the opposite of what he wanted to hear. That was why it was strained.
And it never improved.
It never improved.
Why was he in New Zealand with Qarase? Did you see him around there when you went for the meeting?
Yeah, I saw him there, but I think he was. In fact, Qarase was taken to task by Winston Peters. Winston Peters asked Qarase what Andrew Hughes was doing on the plane.
Right, on the New Zealand special.
On the New Zealand special. And Qarase's answer was, well, I wanted to bring him to talk to the commander.
Right.
And I said there was no intention on my part to talk to Andrew Hughes. But I think he was just on his way out. He wanted to find out what the situation was like, because he flew from there to Australia and went home.
Now, Commodore Bainimarama, now as the situation stands, where to from here? How do you see Fiji in the next year? I mean, down the road, another year, December 5th, 2008, how do you see what could be achieved by then?
Vijay, we have talked about 2009 as election year. We know we're getting a lot of opposition going down that path from the international community. They have not been helpful, especially our neighbors in Australia and New Zealand, America. They have not been helpful in us moving towards that direction. NGOs that have been paid by these international communities are against every move that we take. We don't want to resurrect the emergency regulation. We can have a wonderful Christmas by shutting everybody up and putting in place the emergency regulation. But what good would that do to us?
You won't bring it back. You won't bring it back.
I'm not going to answer that, Vijay. But
will you spoil our Christmas?
It's not going to spoil your Christmas. In fact, it might do your Christmas a lot of good, because it's not going to be targeted towards you.
It will be targeted against who?
Against the people that we would want it targeted against. But what I'm saying is, I wish everybody can shush up. Let us do what needs to be done to take us to 2009 an election.
So you want people to work with you?
We want people to work with us. If they don't want to work with us, just stay out of our way, because it's spoiling the way we think we should go.
Commodore Bainimarama, we had a special played this afternoon from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock on the events of December 5th. We did not just focus on the day. We took it from October 31st, actually from 2002, when the first attempt was made to...
you should have gone back to 2001.
To relook at a contract. Well, you gave me that news story just today, so maybe next time. In that special report, we've managed to get an interview, a statement made on December 5th, on the evening of December 5th, by the then Australian Prime Minister John Howard. His statement was that Qarase had asked him for military intervention on December 5th. He's on record saying that it was asked 3 times. and he rejected it because he didn't want Fijian and Australian soldiers to be fighting on the streets of Suva, and he rejected that. Now that was played earlier today. We've got a question from Steve from Nandi. He heard that special report, and he said that he heard John Howard's speech today saying that Qarase requested for foreign intervention 3 times. Why is Qarase not arrested and charged in relation to this crime?
I think the police are in the process of obtaining more evidence on Qarase for that charge, so he may be charged at some stage.
You knew about the request for foreign intervention?
Well, he didn't request it through me. He went straight to the Prime Minister of Australia. But
did he know about it?
Did who know about it?
Did you know about him trying to get someone else to come in for an
Well,
intervention?
I only heard it like Steve over the radio or through the TV that he had requested Qarase, or that Qarase had requested him. But that would not be surprising. This is a guy who wants to come back into power by sacrificing the lives of soldiers. He had no problem in getting the soldiers to kill each other on the street just so he can come back into power. That's basically the bottom line in this request.
Commodore Bainimarama, your cleanup campaign, if the elections are in March 2009, as you've said in Tonga and you've said now today again, will your cleanup campaign be complete by then?
I don't think so, Vijay. My cleanup campaign or that of the interim government will not be completed by then, but hopefully the charter will have incorporated everything that we wanted to do a cleanup of this country.
Good evening, everyone. This is Vijay Narayan, and you're listening to a live talk back with Commodore Bainimarama, the interim Prime Minister, Fiji's interim Prime Minister, on Radio Sargam, VTFM and Legend FM, also on fijivillage.com. Big bull of Inaka to everyone listening there. Commodore Bainimarama, the last few questions, of course, before we finish off this evening. Thank you very much again for coming. Will Fiji be ready for elections by March 2009? Will we be ready?
Well, Vijay, I keep saying, if these people who have been very vocal against us in the last couple of months, in the last 10 months, if they let us be, we may be ready for the 2009.
If they don't, if they continue with what they're doing?
I'm sorry, I'm not going to answer that.
So we'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see.
So what you're saying is that to achieve that time frame, people have to participate in the National Council for Building a Better Fiji.
But not only that, I wish they could stop attacking the military and the interim government. If they have any problem with any dealings in corruption or anything like that, I'd be more than willing to listen in. I have no problem with that.
Commodore Bainimarama, my final question. This is in relation to the People's Charter. Whatever your vision is, goes in the Charter, definitely. You've said that that's your vision. And how you want to move the country forward as far as the National Council for Building a Better Fiji is concerned, the interim government. We have elections in March 2009, and a group of parliamentarians come in and they say that we don't recognize this charter because we will not adopt it. What happens then? What is the guarantee that this charter your vision will continue?
There's been a lot of talk about the roles and responsibility of the Republic of Fiji Military Forces. Things have changed dramatically since 1987, Vijay. The military will be the guardian of that charter. The military will make sure that nobody steps out of line and comes up with anything that will bring about the problems that we've faced in the last 6 years. I hope that's made clear to the people of this nation.
Commodore Banimarama, thank you very much for coming this evening. Any last words to the people of Fiji and those listening abroad? Christmas is around the corner, just 20 days away.
Well, I just want to wish my my soldiers in Sinai, in Iraq, and Sudan a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you very much, Commodore Banimarama. Thank you very much again for attending. We know you were in Singatoka this morning attending a funeral and you had an urgent meeting later this afternoon. Thank you very much for making time available for the people of Fiji. And to those listening on fijivillage.com around the world, on Sargam, on VTFM and on Legend FM, definitely we'll have regular talkbacks like this with Commodore Banimarama now that he's eased into the program. And definitely we'll have you getting in and coming and asking questions about whatever you may be interested in knowing, in finding out where to from here. Until the next time, good evening. I'm Vijay Narayan.